All right, so I'll go ahead and start. So hey everyone, my name is John Budoff, KF0ABR. Nice to be here with you all this morning. Um, I got my tech license back in 2020, and been mostly doing ARES emergency communication stuff, and just got my general license this year. So that's enough about me.
This is Art Bullock. I'm in Zero AIU. I'm an amateur extra. I've been that way for about 15 years. I can tell a story. It might be a little long-winded, but a good friend of mine and we met up at a burger joint, and he was retesting for all his classes. He was an extra, and he'd had a brain fart, and he'd let his license expire. Not just expire, but expire for 2 years. So he had to retest to get his license, all three exams. It's different now. But so we were sitting there talking, and he told me that they had done away with code. I have a serious hearing and challenge impairment, and me and Morse code don't get along very well. But I love it. I love it anyway. It's a great thing. So that's me. Let's get going.
All right,
John, it's yours.
sounds good. I'll take it away. For those of you wondering why I have so much CU stuff behind me, it's not that I'm a fanatical CU fan. I just happen to work there, so that's my work background. Um, so this is going to be a combination of bouncing back and forth between a couple of things. So I've got a PowerPoint presentation, but I promise this is not going to be death by PowerPoint. The PowerPoint presentation is really to kind of keep me on track of what I want to talk about. And I'm going to be bouncing back and forth a lot between the PowerPoint presentation and the what you're actually going to see on my screen of going through things and showing you how they work. I've got my iPhone trained on my radio and my Signalink USB, as you can see. So you can actually see what's going on in like several different areas. You'll be able to see what's going on in a few different windows on the screen, and then you'll also be able to see what's going on the Signalink when it's triggering the radio, and then you can also see what's going on the radio. So you can kind of get the whole holistic view of what's happening. And you should be able to hear it too, as long as Art tunes into the same frequency that I am transmitting on, because it won't get picked up by my noise canceling microphone, but it will get picked up by one of his microphones. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will start going through this. All right, so I can just leave that up. All right, and I'm going to go into slideshow mode, but because I'm bouncing back and forth a lot, if that becomes like a problem, then I'm probably just going to stay in regular non-presentation mode. But I think for some of you, it may be hard to see this if it's not in presentation mode. So, all right, so we already talked about that. We already talked about the who we are. I do want to kind of set the stage a little bit and talk about what this presentation is and what it is not. So what it is its basic setup of the system on VHF and UHF. Not going to get into HF at all. Theory is obviously the same, but HF's a different animal in terms of bandwidth and how you tune and all that kind of stuff. So not going to get into HF, just talking VHF, UHF. We're going to go through demos of several things. We're going to go through demos of gateway connections and point-to-point connections, which I think are really cool. And then I'm also going to go through basic Winlink Express or RMS Express, what it used to be called, functionality. What the presentation is not is it's not a comprehensive review of anything really. It's definitely not a comprehensive review of the overall WinLink system. I've got some links on the next slide. I think that there's some fantastic YouTube videos that are out there by I think Rick Frost that go over the entire system of how does it connect from servers and gateways and all that kind of stuff. And when you connect your radio to a gateway, and how does that then get into the internet system, all that stuff. So there's some great stuff on there. It's not a comprehensive review of the WinLink Express program. There's a lot you can do with that. I'm going to go over some basic forms and talk about how you do the basic stuff. Um, Not a step-by-step guide for installation. Again, I mean, I'm going to cover the basics of it, but again, YouTube, there's all kinds of videos out there that literally will walk you through step by step. Here's the website to go to. Here's how you download it. Here's what you click on, the whole thing. And as I talked about, it's not about HF today. All right. So again, YouTube is your friend. I'll just demo this real quick. Hang on a sec. Oh, I got too many windows open here. Um, if you just go to YouTube, being a little slow, and you type in Winlink, you're going to find all kinds of stuff out here about Winlink. Wave Talker seems to have some fairly professionally made videos. I don't know anything about their club or who they are, but they do seem to have some really good videos. You got lots of stuff from people like Ham Radio Crash Course and um, other things that are going to talk about what is WinLink. This is the Rick Frost stuff I was talking about. These are like professionally made videos that talk about the entire WinLink system and how everything connects. Really good stuff. But the bottom line is YouTube is your friend. If you need information, you can read the instructions, but you can also go to YouTube. Okay, so let me minimize that and let me go back to the presentation. And one thing I will say about stuff on YouTube, um, I am not espousing anything that anybody has to say on there in particular. So I don't know who Rick Frost is. I don't know who Wave Talkers are. I've just come across their videos and they seem pretty good to me, but I don't know for sure like what their philosophies are. So please don't put that on me that I'm recommending anybody's philosophy to anybody. All right. So again, the agenda, we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to go through the basic initial setup, what hardware, software you need, how you do basic configuration. And then we're going to go into some demos and we'll come back to that in a minute. And then we're going to talk about forms and sending images. And actually, I think I'm going to talk about forms ahead of the demos, probably. I can't remember what order I put this together in. So here are the kind of key components that you need. And it really breaks down into three things. You have your computer, you have an external sound card, and then you have your radio. On your computer, you're going to have usually two things. You're going to have the WinLink Express program itself, and then you're going to have some kind of software modem slash software TNC. Examples of that are Sound Modem and Direwolf. I'm going to be using Sound Modem, but you can change these up pretty easily, and there's other ones out there too. Okay. Then you're going to be connecting your computer through typically a USB port, and you're going to be connecting it to an external sound card that is going to be basically taking the signals out of your computer and then transmitting them into your radio. SignalLink is the one I'm using. There are other options out there, and we'll talk a little more about that. But essentially, you're going to be going from your computer to your your on your sound card, your computer interface to your USB port on the computer, and then on the other side, you're going to be going from your radio interface to your either your data port on your radio or your microphone jack. You are going to get better speeds if you have a radio that has an old style data port on it, and I'll show you, what mine has. But if you're doing something like mobile, and you're using a handheld, you'd probably most likely be going to the microphone jack on that. Okay. And please interrupt me if you guys have any questions at all. And I'm actually going to move this off the screen. Okay. All right. So let's talk about kind of the different programs. We did it a little bit here. So the email program itself is going to be your WinLink Express, formerly RMS Express. Your modem or software terminal node controller, Direwolf or Sound Modem or Vara FM are popular ones. I'm sure there are other ones out there that I don't know anything about. Sound card, SignalLink is what I use. I know a lot of people also use Master Communications. I think Art has experience with that one. If we have time, we can talk about that at the end. But I'm just going to talk about SignalLink. And then the radio, we already talked about data link for faster potential speeds. So this is a picture of the back of my radio. So you're looking at the front of the radio in one of the video feeds here. This is the back of the radio, and then this is the signal link when it wasn't sitting on top of the radio. And you can see that I have a cable. I think this is just an RJ45 port that's going from the signal link into the back of the radio into what's called the data port, which is this, I don't know, I think it's a mini DIN type of
Mini
connector.
DIN 6.
Thank you. All right. And then on the other side, this is the USB that it kind of goes off screen, but this is what's connecting to my computer that's somewhere over here. Yeah.
And I think if you have a newer radio too, some of the newer radios that have the USB interface, like the IC7300 or the whatever the VHF equivalent of that is, or the Yaesu 991A, I think you don't need the signal link, right? Because that has the sound card built into it.
Well,
We're
there's
gonna
a
go
cautionary
ahead, Art.
tale, and we might want to save that for later on
Okay.
because that's really in depth. But the short answer is for packet and for slower speed VARA, the answer to your question is yes, you can use the built-in sound cards that are in the radios. If you want high speed VARA, the maximum possible speed VARA, the 991 has a glitch, or no, I shouldn't call it a glitch. It's a design feature. You can't
It's not a
do it.
bug, it's a feature.
It's a feature. You can't do it.
Uh,
So we can talk more later.
Yep.
yeah. Just
Yep.
FYI, we're having a little internet issues here once in a while. So every once in a while, you guys are freezing, but we're able to follow it.
Okay. Let me pause for 2 seconds here and hang on a sec. I need to be able to turn my camera off real quick. Give me just a minute here. Sorry. Gotta figure out how to do this again. Okay. Can't figure out how to do it. I was gonna go tell my son to make sure he's not on any games upstairs, but I will just first go ahead and if it continues having any kind of internet connection, it looks like it's from my end, please let me know and I will go tell him.
Yeah, it's
All right.
probably the church's Wi-Fi. But
Okay. Okay. Well, my son decided to surprise me today and show up on my doorstep when he lives in Nebraska. And I think he's upstairs watching videos. So if it looks like it's RN, let me know. So good question. First of all, about the built-in sound cards. One thing I'll stress here is there's lots of ways to slice this pie. Lots of different things you can do. My presentation is really going to be about what I'm currently doing. And then if we have time after, when we get to the end of it, Art, I'm sure can uh, share some wisdom on different ways of doing it because there are lots of different ways of doing it. There's ways of doing it over your iPhone now.
Yep.
Um, Things like that where you don't have to use your computer at all. I'm not into that. I'd rather have my computer if I'm going to be sending an email personally, but that's just me. Okay. Whoops. So going through some basic setup, downloading and installing. So downloading and installing Winlink. Let me see if I can find this. Maybe I should have moved all those other windows. So downloading and installing Winlink, you just go to winlink.org. You go to download. I think it's going to download. I think you go to user programs. Yep, and then there's your WinLink Express install. And it's just a zip file. You open it. If you're on a Windows machine, it'll just open it for you. It'll go through the normal Windows installer. Okay. Um, let's see. That was WinLink. Sound modem. You can go to this page, and it's in the presentation too. This UZ7HOUA, and then you just go down here into downloads, I believe. Actually, it's on the main screen. There is no download screen, so you just scroll down on the main screen, and you go down here to um, sound modem 114.zip, and the same thing. It's going to install on your computer. I think most of these programs, as you guys probably already have experienced with ham radio programs, if you're on a Windows machine, it's going to give you an error saying this is not signed or it's not verified, and you kind of have to say, well, I trust it. I'm going to do it anyway. And then it'll just go through normal Windows installer. Okay. Any questions on either of those? Okay. All right. So let's talk next about setting up sound devices. So let's say you're at the point, and here's where I'm going to minimize this. So let's say you're at this point where you have you've installed WinLink Express. So here I am, I'm in WinLink Express, and now I need to install, I need to make sure that my sound devices are correct. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up this session here so I can get to this window. So this is again sound modem, and if I go here, there's a couple of settings for devices. I can click on devices and it's going to let me choose my output device from the long list of device. And I'm choosing this one called USB audio codec. And the input is USB audio codec. I'm going to take a step backwards because I think I did this in the wrong order. When you connect the signaling to your computer, it's going to essentially create two new sound devices on your computer. The easiest way to get to those is you can go to sound and just right click and say open sound settings. And then underneath sound settings, I can just go to sound control panel. This is a Windows 10 box and maybe somewhere else on other versions. So I'll go to the sound control box, and then this is going to give me this window that's going to show me all my playback devices, all my recording devices. So you kind of have to find it so you know which one it is, because like you may have a lot of different playback devices like I do. So in this case, I had to scroll down and say, oh, here it is, USB audio codec. So like I could rename this. I could click on this and instead of saying speakers, I could say this is SignaLink USB, and I could say apply. Okay. So now it's called SignaLink USB, and so this is for output from the computer, and then recording. You have to choose your microphone. And again, if I scroll down, I got a lot of microphones on this system. Of course, it decided not to respond. I find the one that says USB audio codec. Again, I could easily rename this and say it's Signal Link USB to make it a little bit more obvious. So that's how you set up your audio devices. You'll go into the audio control panel. You'll make sure that they're working, and then yeah, go from there. So if I say okay here, I get out of this. Now if I go into this and I say settings devices, now you notice that it says output. I'd already chosen the output device, but it actually is picking up the new name. So it's saying the output device from the sound card is SignalLink USB. The input device is SignalLink USB. I guess that might be a little confusing. I maybe want to call them line in, line out, something like that. But I think you guys get the point. Does that make sense so far? I'll take silence as golden. Okay. All right. So let me pull back up the PowerPoint real quick and see where we are. So yeah, we just talked about that. And you can see when I had actually put this together, this PowerPoint, I actually had called them SignalLink USB TX and SignalLink USB RX for transmit and receive to make it a little clearer which was which. But then I've reset this up on this computer since I originally put this presentation together. All right, so let's talk about Winlink settings then. So we'll start there here. So this is your Winlink program, this one in the middle of the screen. So after you get it set up, you've got to set up basic settings. So you install the program, and then you're going to go through basic settings. So you go up here to settings, and you go to Winlink Express setup, and it says don't do that while you're in a running session. So I got to kill my running session, and now it should let me do that. Now I go to Winlink Express setup. So the key parts of this here, well, let me show you real quick on the PowerPoint screen. This is the key parts of it is up here. Everything else is kind of optional. Okay. Art, do you remember, do you have to register Winlink or is that an optional thing?
Actually, you kind of do. If you read their details, it's because of their licensing. You are subject to being thrown off the bus more frequently if you don't register.
Okay. All right. So let's
In other
assume
words, after so many months, they will eliminate you
gotcha.
unless you've been active, and then they'll keep sending you emails saying please register, please register.
Okay.
It's a good thing to register. Okay.
Yep. All right. So let's assume you have to register. So there's really two parts of this that are key. One is you're going to need to put in your Winlink registration key down here.
And
And then,
it's best to cut and paste that because people get that wrong all the time.
yeah, it's a complex little string of letters and numbers there. And then at the top part, you'll need to put in your call sign. and a password recovery email, and I believe this is the password that you've set up when you registered your Winlink Express. Okay, so that's, I'll minimize this again, but that's this stuff right here. So you got your call sign, your password recovery email, and your password, and then down here your Winlink Express registration key. You can also put in your grid square, which is great. That's helpful, especially when you're filling out forms. It'll automatically take that grid square and put it onto forms. And then you can put in some contact information also. So
So I can't remember when you register Winlink, does that involve having to purchase it, to license it, or is it free?
I think it's free, isn't it, Art?
I think it's free.
Okay, I couldn't
They
remember.
just they ask you for a donation.
That's right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now when he gets to Vara, it's different.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was thinking Avara is, yeah, a whole different deal.
Yep. So before I move on, any questions on that, on the settings for the basic settings for WinLink? Again, you just go to settings, WinLink Express, and then you fill in these top sections and your WinLink registration key.
One point I would like to make, if perchance you were ever to have to replace your computer and WinLink needed to be reinstalled, you can input from that WinLink screen your user ID and password. It'll populate most of everything. It will not populate your registration number, but it will populate everything, and you'll at least be able to use WinLink in a replacement environment, if you want to say it that way.
Yep. Thanks, Art. Okay, so now let's talk about the settings for the packet WinLink and the PTP setup. And I'll show you how to get to these also. So the key things here, this top section. So you want to make sure that your packet TNC type is KISS. So keep it simple, stupid. Your packet TNC model, I just have normal, and TCP is a serial port. There's different things you can choose here. You can choose COM ports if you're doing it through a different method. But for this method, this is what it should look like. Okay, and then this right here is where you set up your actual device that you're using as your in KISS mode for your software modem slash TNC. So like I could go and change this to something else. But right now I have it set at sound modem. So if I go back and I pull this up again, I'll minimize that. So I think to get to where I was just showing, I have to open the session. And then I go down here under settings, under the packet WinLink setting. So in case you guys didn't see how I got to that, let me go back and do it again. So I chose packet WinLink, I open session, it opens this window here, and then it's set to automatically open this window here, which is the sound modem, or again, the software TNC slash modem. And then I go to settings. And then here, again, packet TNC type, there's a lot of choices. I have not played around with most of these things. But I just have it set on KISS, and then packet TNC model, I have it set on normal, and then serial port could be a COM, but I have it set on TCP. Okay, and then this is the location in your system of the program you're running. So like if I wanted to switch to Direwolf, if we have time, I may do that at the end and show you guys how this is done. I could very easily switch this to another program just by changing it here, saving, updating it, and then restarting everything. Okay, any questions on this?
I should mention, we are going to post the presentation and the video on the website. So yeah, you guys don't need to worry about taking copious notes. You can refer back to the video. Yeah, this is worth
Good.
waiting. Okay.
And I assume your website is somehow password protected so that only your members are seeing the video?
It is not.
Okay. Well, they probably won't find it as much as if it was on YouTube.
But yeah, that's true. The video, yeah, we put the videos up on YouTube, and I don't publish those, but the link is on the website.
Okay, that should be fine. All right, so let me see where I am. Any questions on this at all? All right, we'll be getting into demos here pretty soon. All right, so that's how you do that. We already talked about this. The sound card devices. So this is under sound modem setting devices. one thing I didn't talk about earlier was making sure that these ports are correct. So let's go back and talk about that a little bit. So if I go into settings, let's see where this has TCP port. So this is localhost 127.0.0.1, and then it has TCP port 81. This has to match what you have set on your software modem / TNC. So if I go here and I go settings, devices, this right here, KISS server port has to match. Okay. And you'll notice that what it's doing, like when it starts up, it says launching. So when I started this up, it said launching sound modem, card modem is running, initializing KISS over port 8100. If these don't match, these two things aren't going to communicate with each other. And I actually had a problem with this when I first set this up. I can't remember which program it was, but for some reason, this one defaulted to like 8001 and this one defaulted to 8100. And so just make sure that you are using the same port in both of those so that they can talk to each other. Okay. All right. So there's that. We just went through that. All right, we're not at VAR yet, so let's not do VAR yet because I don't want to overwhelm you guys with setup stuff. Let's actually go and do some demos because those are a whole lot more fun. Okay, so first thing I think I need to do is create a message. So I'm kind of going a little out of order in my presentation, but so if I want to create a message in Winlink, it's very easy to do. All you got to do is go to message, new message. You put in here, it defaults to who you are because that's in the configuration. You put in here who you're sending it to. If you're sending to another person on Winlink, so if I want to send to Art's address, all I have to do is type in N0AIU, right? And if I hit
Yes.
tab, it's going to default to that. Now, if I typed in N0AIU at winlink.org, it still defaults to the same thing. So you really only have to type in their call sign if it's a Winlink address. Now, if it's not a Winlink address, and this system is not just limited to sending to other Winlink addresses, because once it goes through all the gateways and connects into the internet, through the tower, and then it connects through all the back gateways and all that, you can send to any email address. Okay, so I could very easily type in my Yahoo address, and I can type that, and I can send to that address. Okay, I can give it a subject, test one. I have to choose, and this is super important, and we'll talk about this more in a minute, but I have to choose whether it's a Winlink message or a peer-to-peer message. I honestly don't know what radio-only message is. I've never played around with that. But for the purpose of today, we're going to talk about Winlink messages or peer-to-peer. Winlink messages means it's going through the Winlink system to get to somebody. So you're contacting a tower or a gateway with your radio over RF, and it gets into the system and it gets to them that way. Peer-to-peer is I'm just going from one radio directly to another. And it's really cool. I'm going to turn my sound here for a minute. And it's
Hey,
really cool. We'll demo that here in a minute.
you
But
know,
for,
is
go
there any
ahead.
is there any way you can change your screen resolution to make it a little bit lower? Because we can't really read any of this. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have no idea how I would do that off the top of my head.
Right click on your desktop.
Go display settings.
You got it. And then just pick something a little bit smaller. Scroll down a little bit if you can. There you go. See where it says, yeah.
Yeah, I could try one of these. I don't know how it's going to look. I've never done that, but
Yeah, go to, oh
is
yeah,
that, Doug better?
that good for you guys? A little bit better.
You want me to try knocking it down a little more? I can do that.
Maybe one more notch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's try it again. Um, let's go big time. 12 8 by 1024 and see what that looks like.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, all right, thanks. Yeah, thanks for letting me know that. All right, so I've set up Winlink message. I've set up who I'm sending it to. I've given a subject. I'm just gonna, I don't have to put anything in here, but I am. And then I just say post to outbox. We'll get into templates a little bit later, but for now, I just want to do a really basic demo of this. Okay, just so you guys don't get too bored with the PowerPoint. So I say post to outbox, and now you see in my outbox I have one message sitting here. Okay, so now, and I'll go ahead and close all of this so that we kind of start fresh. So now if I want to send that message, there's three ways you can do it. I'm going to demo two of them right now, and then Art and I will demo the point-to-point stuff afterwards, I think. So one way is you can just do Telnet Winlink. Okay, all Telnet Winlink is doing is going through the internet directly. There's no RF involved at all. So it's super fast. It's literally just like using any other email program on your machine. It's going through your Ethernet or your wireless out through your router and to the internet. So I guess there's RF involved in the Wi-Fi, but not ham radio RF.
Good
So
for, but kind of defeats the purpose, right?
yeah. So I mean, this has its purposes of Telnet WinLink. It's great for practicing. It's great if you have to do something really quick. You want to like for whatever reason you want to check your email and your internet's still working. But do not rely on it is what I would say, because I think one of the biggest values of the WinLink is during emergency communications. And I think during emergency communications, you have to assume that the internet is down, and that's this big benefit of we're still able to send email when nobody else can when the internet is down because of this system. So you can use this, and I'll show you how it works. It's like really, really simple.
I guess it goes without saying that, if the internet is down, don't try sending something to yahoo.com.
Um, yeah, I mean, it'll probably still get there in the long run because it'll probably be sitting on some gateway server if you use RF or something like that. But yeah, if the internet's down, yeah, you're probably not going to get it to somebody on yahoo.com, but you will get it to somebody on WinLink as long as all the WinLink pieces are up and ready.
Right.
So again, I'll just demo this Telnet WinLink session. I can just go and say start. It says connecting to the CMS. Boom, message sent, done. That was it. So now it's out of my outbox. You see how it's out of my outbox? And Art probably got a copy of it, and my personal email probably got a copy of it. Okay. So it's great for playing around. It's great for testing stuff, making sure you understand how things work, but don't rely on it. Don't get used to it. We've seen this too many times where people are like, "Oh, yeah, I use WinLink all the time," but they're using Telnet WinLink, and then when we do exercises and we're like, "Okay, unplug your computer. The internet's down," they're like, "Oh crap, I don't know how to do it WinLink anymore." So, okay. All right, so we'll close out of that. I'm gonna go ahead and create another message real quick. Message.
Confirming I got your message.
Thanks, Art. And again, I'm confirming this is a WinLink message. I posted to the outbox. Okay. So the next way of doing it is through what's called WinLink. Where is it? Where can I find it here? Packet WinLink. Oh, it's right below there. So this is using Packet, and now it's going through the radio. So it's going to look a whole lot different, and you're actually going to hear what it sounds like and see what it sounds like when we do it. So I'll turn up my radio just a little bit. And I've got the message sitting in my outbox. And so now I'll open the session. It's going to look a little differently. And you're not going to be able to see everything the way I was thinking you would just because of the screen resolution. But essentially, this is the program that's sending the message, which is part of WinLink up here. This is the program that's communicating, doing all the fancy computer stuff, communicating directly with the signal link. The signal link's communicating with the radio. So you'll actually be able to see what's going on here and what's going on here and what's going on the radio at the same time, and you should be able to hear it also. A key thing, again, this says launching sound modem because that's the program it's using. It says it's running, initializing KISS, make sure the port's ready, and it says everything's ready. If it had some sort of mismatch in ports, it would not give you this ready. It would probably say something's broken. Okay. So the first thing I have to do here is I have to figure out what channel I want to use. So I go to channel selector. Now you can update this via the internet. I'm not going to, just because I like the order they're in for the moment. But one warning, I guess, is a lot of these gateways they list, even if they're really close to you, they don't work. I don't know why that's the case. I don't know why they show up in the list, but they don't work, but they simply don't work. This morning I was testing and I went through one, two, three, four that didn't work before I got to K0NTS-10, and then that one worked. So just be aware of that. If it doesn't work, it may not be your setup. It may that be that the gateway just isn't working. And I don't. Art, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, gateways come and go. They get hung, and so
Just like the
you
internet.
do have to kind of fish around a little bit for RMS gateways. Um, the distance has a real impact in that below 20 miles, you can wind up getting radio interference from your own signal, if you will. One of these gateways is right in my neighborhood and I can never connect to it. But the ones that are 20 miles away, I connect to, no problem.
Okay. So yeah, so just be aware of that I just refreshed this and it's still showing a bunch of these. Be aware that if you try this and it gets you nowhere, try a different gateway. And then just keep trying until you get one that works. K0NTS seems to be pretty reliable. Um, these ones down here, I don't think I've ever tried because they're pretty far away. You'll notice my radio is set on medium. Um, I usually do this in low and it usually works fine, but just to make sure I'm getting my signal through, I'm setting it at medium, which I'm not even sure what medium is on this radio, maybe 20 watts or something like that. And low might be 5. So I double click that. It says, okay, you're going to K0NTS. Frequency is 145050. You may notice a minute ago on my radio on the right-hand side. So the way my radio works, it's got dual channels. And so I set the right-hand side, or maybe it defaulted to the right-hand side being digital. So I moved all my controls and everything else over to the right-hand side, and I set it at the right frequency. All right, so now we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is hit start, and what's kind of cool is you're going to see the communication that goes on in this program. You're going to see and hear this program sending out the packets, and you can see, it says from KF0ABR to K0NTS, and then NCS replies, and then you're going to see what happens on the signal link as the red light comes on, the push to talk light comes on, which is it's being triggered to talk and send something out to the radio, and then you're going to hear it transmitting through the radio. So let's give it a shot, see if it all works. And wow, it's not.
Are you transmitting on the correct frequency?
Yeah, I'm on 145050.
Okay.
So let me check some stuff, and this is good because you're gonna have to go through this yourselves. Okay. Um, I did do some messing around with sound card stuff right before this meeting, and I probably broke it, which was probably a really stupid thing for me to do. So I'm gonna now go and try to figure this out real quick on the fly. But this is good because again, you're gonna have to do that also. All right.
Like a live demo.
So I see the problem right away is that for whatever reason, my output device and my input device changed on my sound modem. I'm not sure
And
why it
this
did
is a
that.
Windows thing, by the way.
Mhm.
It's notorious that Windows will change stuff and not tell you.
Yeah, what probably happened is when I went into the sound control panel and I updated some names, it then defaulted to the default ones because the
Yes.
default stuff is different than your what you want here. So now I'll change this back to Signal Link USB, and I'll change this one back to Signal Link USB, and I'll say OK, and then we'll try it again.
I hear you now.
That looks better.
So you can see here it said connected right here, where I'm moving my mouse. If I highlight that. And it looks like somebody else is maybe talking at the same time as me, so we're having to share this frequency and sending packets. I might have stepped on somebody. Oops. Sorry if I did. Looks like there's some, And you can see traffic coming from other people through here too, right? Because the radio's hearing it, then it's going through the signal link and it's coming back through the program. So I can see this stuff. Welcome to Packet Station near Franktown. Digi.
The the frequencies actually shared between a packet network in the metro area that has about 20 stations. So if you were to just leave this sound modem on and listen to the frequency, you could see traffic flowing all the time.
Yeah. That's one of the things I like about Sound Modem. I don't think Direwolf does the same thing. I
No, it
think that's
doesn't.
so Direwolf's just another program. It's Direwolf's more of a Linuxy type old command line type program where the configuration and everything is done in text files and you go in and you modify them. Sound Modem's more of a moderny type Windows type thing where it's all visual and you get to see what's going on the screen, which I really like. And it has the cute little waterfall too. So,
Hey,
all right,
is sound modem free
Yes.
all these are free.
except for
Yep,
VAR?
except for VAR. Yep,
Well, Vara is free if you don't want high
Yeah,
speed.
you want the handicap version.
Yeah,
yep,
he locks it down.
yeah.
But guess
Um,
what? Vara, free Vara that's handicapped is faster than Packet.
that's true. It is.
Hey,
But in VAR, you don't get all this cool stuff where you can actually see what's going on. VAR is a black box.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
You guys know if the Denver Radio Club repeater up on Squaw or whatever they're calling it nowadays, Mr. is works with this?
I don't think so.
No,
But
no repeaters. All the repeaters have put a big X symbol over digital transmissions through their repeaters, including APRS. They're afraid that they'll get overwhelmed.
Yeah, they've got a packet radio up there. Up on Is it on Green Mountain? Yeah.
If they have a packet radio, it's probably a packet radio designed for specifically for packet, and they have an high speed internet connection to interface with it.
Right. Yeah, I think they've got like an old style bulletin board running on it too, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
okay.
I think
So
you I think you're done.
yeah, one interesting thing here though is it looks like it did not actually send the message. Um,
Now that's where you can check your outbox.
right, because I just was looking at my outbox and I still have one in there. So I'm not
Okay.
entirely sure why I didn't send the message. So let's just do it again. Um, but again, it's kind of interesting to me because you can see all the codes and communication. We can go through those if we have time. But you can see what it says when it's disconnected. See the actual packets going back and forth where it's saying, hey, KF0 here is trying to contact K0NTS, and K0NTS says, hey, what do you want? And et cetera, et cetera. And then it goes through the handshake, and it's all, just like normal TCP/IP type stuff, but it's over radio. So, but let me try it again because I didn't actually see my message go through. All right, let's try this again. Maybe it got interfered with by the other station that was out there. It should say something like sending message. And then on this side, you should see a bunch of gobbledygook when it sends the message. Yeah, see, it looks like there's traffic from a number of other people here going on right now. So it may be just waiting its turn, or it may be kind of interfering. So I don't know why on that one, but it doesn't appear that my message got sent. It's still sitting in the outbox. Um, I'll double click on it. It says a Winlink message. Yeah, don't have a good explanation for why that didn't get sent, but we'll play around with this a little bit more. All right. So let me open up my my PowerPoint again, just to kind of make sure I'm not getting too far off track on what I was going to talk about. Um, all right. So this is now going into Vara, and key things on Vara. So let's see. Vara FM setup, Vara sound card setup. Okay. So we'll do that. We'll talk about that here for a minute. All right. So I'm going to close all this up. And all right, for now, you may want to turn down your radio so that the sound of all these people transmitting isn't interfering
Will
with the
do.
presentation. Thank you. Okay, so now let's talk about Vara. So to get to Vara, again, you go up here to this choice list, and it's got Vara FM Winlink. Okay, in a few minutes we'll do Vara FM point to point, and we'll also do packet point to point. And you see there's a lot of choices here, and most of these have to do with HF, right? You got a VAR FM version and a VAR HF version. You also have all these other things, Pactor, RDOP, all kinds of other stuff that honestly I've never played with because I've only played with this on VHF, UHF.
Would
But
you like me to explain a few of them?
let's hold off till the end because I want to
Okay,
make sure we get through the key
surety.
stuff here. All right, so I'm going to go to VARA FM, okay, and then I'm going to say I don't have to do anything else in here, but when I go to open session, now it's going to open it as a VARA FM session, right? I've got mine set to automatically open up the VARA FM program. I think for whatever reason it defaults to opening it minimized. So I'll see if I can find that setting. But if
It's
you
in
open up this,
it's
go ahead.
in your session settings. If you
This one,
click on session settings right there
okay,
for right and you look
yep,
down there, there's a box. If that's checked, then you get to see Vara.
yeah, but there's another one that says Open VARA minimized, and I think it's actually under the VARA setting. But we'll talk about those. So again, key things here, and I'll go back in case you guys didn't see what I was doing. So I'm in a VARA FM WinLink session. I go to settings. I go to VARA TNC setup. Again, it's going to localhost, and you notice it has these ports of 8300 and 8301. Those are going to have to match up again with what's up here under your actual VARA program. Okay, and this says automatically launch Vara, so that means this here, this window is kicking off this program, and then this tells it where to find it, just like it did in the other one. Okay, so pretty straightforward there. On the Vara side, if you go to settings, I can go to Vara setup. I have my call sign in here and my registration key. Let's see if that's you guys seeing that. Okay. Um, so I have the call sign registration key so that it is working at full speed. My FM system, I have it set to narrow. I don't know that that makes any difference if because I'm using the registered version. Honestly, I haven't played around with that too much. Art and I played around with this a few years ago, but haven't really gotten back to it. And again, your command TCP ports 8300, 8301 had better match what it shows in this program over here. All right. Let's see if I can find this sound card. Okay, so it's a good thing I clicked on this. So you notice something's wrong here, right? It has my device input as my Signalink USB, but it has my device output as my headset. That is not going to work. So if I tried using VAR right now, it would fail. So I'm going to change this, and I'm going to go to Signalink USB. So they're now both set on Signalink USB. And then I think that's it. They must have that menu that I'm thinking of that said start minimize must have gone away. Probably because it was pissing people off. But
Yeah, because nobody wanted it minimized.
right, it's very confusing because it started minimized and it was running, but you didn't know it was running, and everyone's like, "Why didn't my VAR start?" So yeah, so it must have gone away. So all right, so I've got match. I've got a match here. Um, there is still something in my outbox. Don't know why packet didn't send it, but let's try sending it over VARA. Okay. So again, the first thing I need to go to is channel selection. So I say channel selection. This morning I played around with this. The first one I got working was this one here, 144990. Okay. So I'm going to go to 144.990 on my radio. Okay, I'm on 144.990. I choose 144.990 here. Notice that it says successfully connected to VARA on port 8300, so that's good. And that this is a registered version of VARA that can operate at full speed.
So
Okay,
when you went to the channel selection, I noticed it said wide. Should that match what you've got set up in that other screen you were on?
the narrow wide. I haven't
The-
found that it makes a difference.
It actually only makes a difference. Okay, I wasn't going to comment. I was trying to let John do his thing. Narrow versus wide is the baud rate and how much bandwidth you're actually going to use when you transmit. It makes a difference in the radio that you're running on, because radios that have connections through microphone speaker elements and not a dedicated circuitry cannot run wide. An example is the FT 991A. It doesn't have an actual, and there's a little drawing if you go back to VARA and to the actual settings for VARA.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Right there, and you go to sound
Nope, not that
card.
one.
No,
No, it's the other
the
one.
other one,
Yep.
the actual VARA
Yeah, I just got to
setup.
get this off my screen, which every time I go to it, the Zoom thing gets in the way.
Now,
Settings, VARA.
VARA.
Yeah,
Now,
so
if
that's
you
what you're
look at
talking
this
about.
little diagram, if you change narrow to wide, it will change the diagram. And the answer is you've got to put the wide signal has to go in to pin 4 on a data port. Okay. And it's literally imperative that you go in to the discriminator circuitry in the radio. Guess what? The 991 doesn't have that capability because they didn't put a connection in. That's why it's kind of annoying for those of us that use it. But wide simply means that this program is going to not restrict the bandwidth. It's actually going to transmit the audio and compress it in a wider bandwidth, okay, which will not work. Okay, now when you go back to the selection on the screens, and they all said wide for channels, that means they can take either one.
Right. Okay.
And now that's not intuitively obvious, and you can't find that documented anywhere. Because I had to send an email and say, "Why is everybody wide?"
Yep.
And the answer is because if you're operating on that wide mode and your radio can handle wide, it can also handle narrow. And the RMS station can handle both. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah. And does the signal link then, say if you had a 991 with a signal link, would that work with wide?
I think you have to
Okay,
do something special to it.
this is something else that John's probably not encountered this. His signal link is a newer model. The signal links that came out 3 or 4 years ago, and the way you can tell is when you open up your signal link, you take the metal cover off. If there are gigantic coils, transformers, okay, then no, it won't work with wide, because those coils, those transformers are designed. They are Mountain Bell transformers designed for 2400 hertz.
Hmm.
The new signal link doesn't use the same kind of transformer. It uses a totally different one. It's black in color. And I've got if you want me to open up a case, I can show you what the difference is. But whenever you buy a used signal link, first thing you want to do is see what it is, because that dictates what it can be used for.
Interesting. Yeah. So they modified the circuitry, but didn't change the name of the product or anything.
No, gee, I wish. You would think.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure uh, on my radio I have the baud rate set to wide. Um, but for whatever reason I have system set to narrow here. I think a couple of years ago I tried playing around with it on wide and it didn't work. I don't recall specifically. I apologize. I didn't play around with that more before this meeting. But I have it set to narrow here, and everything seems to work fine when I go to the wide ones. The channel selection, because as Art said, it could do either. And with what I have on my radio, I seem to be getting really good um, bandwidth out of Vara in terms of speeds. I get really good speeds out of Vara. So,
Yeah, I
all
see
right.
that. See that note on the screen talks about the transformer and the signal link. Interesting.
Yeah, and I've never done any
It
mods
does.
to my signal link. Like I've never gone into the pin. I use the cable that came with the signal link that I told them when you order a signal link, it says what type of radio do you have, and it'll give you order a cable that comes with it, and it'll give you a cable that they make for you that goes directly to your radio.
Right. And
Oh,
That's
brother.
the
blurry art.
right.
It's so you can't see it.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can see it, but there are two little black guys right there, one right next to the other, and they're really hard to see. But sorry, maybe I can get it to
where's
focus.
where's your static protection, Art? You're gonna kill that circuit board, man.
Yeah.
Go drag your feet across the carpet a few times there.
Yeah. If you turn your screen sharing off, we could probably see it. But yeah, you're like the size of a postage stamp right now, Art.
Yeah, so maybe
Yep.
afterwards, let's get through a few more things and then let's leave that to the end and then maybe Art can show it.
Cool.
So let's keep going, just in the interest of time. I know you guys want to get out of here, I think by noon. So I've already picked channel selection again. I picked this one, 144990. I tuned my radio to that one. Everything's connected, everything looks good. So as I said, when we were doing the packet, it was great because you could see exactly what was happening on this side of things. Vara FM is a complete black box. You don't see any of that stuff. You hear a bunch of funky noises and you see a bunch of funky patterns on the screen, and you hope that it is all working. And you go from there. So let me go ahead and hit start and show you guys what it looks like. And Art, you want to turn your radio back up so that they'll hear
It
from
is
your
up.
end
It
the
is
Vara
up.
stuff? Okay.
I'm listening to 990.
Okay, so let's hit it. Here we go. So I'm hitting start.
There's your sending.
Yep. You can see down here, guys, that it's sending that right here. And then it says sent one message, how many bytes it sent, and the time. And I've got a cool slot on this too. But that's Vara FM. So it's a whole lot faster, and I'll talk about how much faster it is than Packet. But you do lose the sort of ability to see the individual packets being sent. And it's just this whole thing up here is just it's meaningless to me. It's probably meaningful to somebody else, but to me, it's just a bunch of I have no idea what it's doing. It's just doing it. So, any questions on Vara FM?
Any questions? It's much more melodic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's very pretty.
John didn't show you one other thing that you can use to your advantage. John, can you go over to settings on Vara?
Yeah, sure.
Click on the sound card. Okay. If you look at this device right here, Auto Tune, click on that. Now put in the station ID that you were just talking to.
It must be defaulting to it because I can't.
Let
It
me
doesn't look
look.
like it. It doesn't give me a choice either.
No, you have to type it in.
Oh, I have to type it in?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
really
that's fine.
stupid. It's
Okay.
Okay, then click on the plug.
So you guys can see on my radio how it's keying the push to talk a lot, really fast, and sending a lot of stuff out over the radio.
Yeah.
Okay, so what this is telling you is that you're a little bit high on your transmit signal. Um, and so the program can't adjust automatically to it. So it's suggesting that you rotate counterclockwise
Yep.
your signaling transmit level.
Yep.
And if you do this as a test, okay, you can get to where you get your signal link perfect and it'll be all three greens. And you won't have any trouble. Now, the caveat is this is a neat feature, but it only exists on the VARA FM. Doesn't exist on other VARA, the VARA HF. So,
That's
Okay,
very
cool. Thanks, Art. Yeah, I played around with that a while ago, but I hadn't played around with that recently.
so it's
Hey,
something really cool to play with when you ain't got anything else. Now, when you get a Masters, one of the DRA series, you've got to play with the potentiometers that are in that unit to get it to work because it's like, well, I've got a dial here, and then I've got a dial in Windows, and then I've got a dial in Vara, and you got to kind of play with all three to get
yep.
the perfect setting.
Yep.
I
So
know on that setting screen you're on, there's a choice between left, right, and left and right. Do you have any idea why you would want to pick left or right versus both?
I think he made that specifically for the DRA family because
Ah,
the DRA family has two outputs. It's got a left and a right signal.
okay.
And so if you do left and right, one of them's dead and one of them's alive because that's just the way the computer works. Computer only sends the signal out as non-stereo, as monaural.
Right. Okay.
And I'm not
um
quite sure. You know, I never really researched why he has two of those, uh, but I've used it to debug uh, cards that I built, the DRA cards.
Hmm.
so I'll say one thing, and thanks, Art, for all that information. This, like almost everything else in ham radio, you can dive and dive and dive and dive and dive and go as deep as you want.
Rabbit
Um,
hole.
Oh,
but it is, and oftentimes it's better to not know what you don't know.
right.
Um, I have not played around like, adjusting my sound levels all that much. I may have done it very early on, but honestly, I haven't played around with them that much. And I've had very successful connections. My system may not be optimized, probably isn't optimized, but it still works really well.
It
So it's one
does.
of these
It
things.
does.
Don't get intimidated by all these little parts that you can fine tune, because it's like anything else in ham radio. The deeper you go, the more you realize how much of an idiot you really are. Um, that's how
Well,
I feel. That's
the,
how I feel about it.
there's also the if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
So that's my advice there. Okay. So any questions? That was just a quick example of Vara, and we're gonna do more actual demos here when Art and I do point to point stuff. But you can basically see it connected. Um, it says here messages sent, right? Right here, one total bytes, total time, shows it's disconnecting and gives you your average throughput. So it's kind of cool to see all this stuff. But any questions on this before we move on?
Uh, whoa, very hot. Do you know if there's a maximum message length?
Is there a maximum message length?
Yeah, there. That's the size. I
I
think
don't.
he's. I
So I'll talk.
believe
Sorry, go ahead, Art, and then I'll talk more about that.
the problem is that with emails, we are so accustomed to sending whatever we want,
Mm-hmm.
pictures, drawings, PDFs, you name it. Vara wasn't really in. I mean, Winlink isn't really it's not great for big volume. So I'd say 20K is your maximum. Okay,
Yeah. So
size.
let's talk about
Yeah,
that a
go
little bit.
there. Go
So
go ahead, John.
yeah, so there may not be a technical maximum, but there's a practical maximum, as I think Art was just getting at. These, when you're going over radio, whether even when you're using VARA, your speeds are orders of magnitude less than what you are used to doing with normal email over a normal internet connection.
Yeah, it's like the
Um,
old days using a dial-up modem.
yeah, right. You're
Think
essentially
that. Yeah.
using this very, very slow dial modem that's going out over the air. Um, so one of the things I put in here is some speed comparisons, and these were done using an attachment that was 24K, which by today's standards is incredibly minuscule, right? Um, but you can see that using Telnet Winlink, which again is just going over the internet, it took no time, and its transfer speed was 4.2 megabytes. But when I did Packet Winlink for a 24K file, which again is nothing for those of you who understand what, kilobytes are. It took 6 minutes and 26 seconds. And I only had a transfer speed of 3.63 kilobytes per minute. With VAR, that's sped up by a factor of about 6, I'd say. And you can see that it went in 1 minute, 7 seconds, had a transfer speed of 20,813 kilobytes per minute, or 20 megabytes per minute, I think. Is that right? Can't be. Okay,
Yep.
maybe it is. I was just surprised that was so much faster than this. I hadn't realized that. Oops,
No,
sorry.
it's 20 kilobytes per minute. Because if you look at the size of your file, it's 24 kilobytes. It took about a minute.
Oh,
Right?
so I have a comma when I'm supposed to have a period. That's the problem here. This is supposed to be a period here.
Uh,
20.813 kilobytes per minute, which again is still orders of magnitude slower than the 4.2 megabytes per minute. So yes, there may or may not be a technical limit on the message size, but you have to be really careful, because if I was sending something that had just a 24 kilobyte attachment, or something in the file itself that was 24 kilobyte, I'm going to be tying up that gateway for over 6 minutes, constantly going back and forth with packets. And anyone else who needs to try to get in there is not going to be able to get in there, probably. Or they may get in there and then we're going to be sharing the bandwidth, which is going to slow both of us down.
Right.
So did that help?
Yes.
Okay.
So no sending of videos or memes.
no,
Yeah.
and they actually, for ARIES and emergency communications, photographs are allowed, but you're going to pay a price.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's going to be minutes to get it to who you're trying to get it to. Okay,
Right.
and just keep that in mind. So if you got a 40K little snapshot, that's 2 minutes
Good
of
rule.
radio time.
Good rule
Yeah.
of thumb. Stick to text.
So yeah, so let's talk about attachments though, because I do have a section here about attachments. Um, so again, as Art said, you can send attachments, and generally you're not going to use this to send any kind of real attachments, but in an emergency communication ARIES type of situation, sending attachments could be incredibly valuable. If you're out at a street corner and you're taking a picture of a tree down, and you want to send that to somebody to show them what is at that corner, what you want to do is keep it as small as possible. Use a program to reduce image sizes prior to attaching it to the message. So, I mean, you go and just take a picture on your iPhone, it's going to be huge, right? It's like by default, depending on which iPhone you have, like 8 megabytes or something like that. Um, Vara, or sorry, the WinLink program itself has the ability, a built-in way of reducing this image size, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the problem is, like, it can say, here's what I start with. Actually, let me just show it to you real quick. Let's find this again. WinLink. Let's see where that would be. Okay, I got to remember where the heck it is here. Maybe it's under setting. Do you remember where it is, Art? How I can reduce an image
Messages,
size?
I believe.
Oh, I've got to create the message. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you got to create the message.
all right, so
And
let me get
once
out
you
of this real
create the
quick.
message and put an attachment on there, it's going to warn you that you're too big.
Yeah, okay. So you know what? I'm not going to go through that because I don't have a file ready to attach to it. But the bottom line is it has a thing that says you can reduce it and it has original size and then you can type in a new size. And you can type in whatever size you want. But the problem with that is that you don't know what the image is going to look like after you type in that size. So you're much better off um, if you have access to the internet, which again, in emergency communications, you may not have that. There's tons of free programs available online, and there's some that are locally installed probably on your computer that don't require it. You can upload the image, you can change, you can tell it what size you want, and it'll show you what the image looks like. So I did this when we were doing one of the set exercises last year, Art, and I
Yep.
took a picture
Yep.
of something, and then I reduced it to 24K or whatever, and it barely it turned it to black and white, and it was barely legible, things that I wanted to see on there, but it is possible. So just be really careful with that. Um, you notice I said if you're mobile, again, you have to assume that the internet's not going to be available if you were doing this mobile. So you have to have a way if you were taking pictures on your phone to then get them onto your computer to be able to send. You can't just send it via email, obviously. So you might have to do a direct transfer or something like that. Okay. Any questions on attachments or speeds or anything else?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And at the end of every, I took snapshots of all these. Again, this is Telnet Winlink session. It'll tell you this highlighted thing. It'll say, this is total bytes that you did, and this was your bytes per minute, right? That's where I got this 4.2 megabytes. But if I go into here, you notice on Packet Winlink bytes per minute, 3630 for this, very very slow, and then this was the 20K kilobytes per minute. So you can see it. It says it right there. Actually has also an average throughput, which I think is the total amount for the message itself, not just the or the total amount for the session, not just the message. But you can see what they are. Okay, so I want to talk about WinLink forms here real quick because this is kind of important. So let's talk about WinLink forms. Um, So one of the really powerful things about WinLink is the forms that it has on it. They got forms for all kinds of stuff to make it easier for people to report on things in a standardized way. And it's great. So like to go to a form, you can go to message and you can go new message, right? And then here I can go to select template. I called it forms, but I guess it's really a template. So I'm going to go select template. I'm going to click on standard templates. I'm going to go to the weather one first and I'm going to go to severe weather report, right? And I double click on it. When I do that, it opens up on a browser, excuse me, just a local file on a browser. It automatically imports certain information from your configuration, like it imports my call sign, it imports my latitude and longitude and grid. Um, and then, I can I'll just fill this in, and again, because the browser, it has a lot of stuff already filled in. Don't spam my phone number, please, or my email. Um, I can put city, county, state. I can fill all this out, flood, whatever, minor street flooding, hail size, 4 inches of, don't be out in it, wind speed, 55 miles an hour, tornado. Oh my gosh, it's a wall cloud. We're all in really trouble. Wind damage. Power lines are down. We're having a bad day. It's also freezing rain with 12 inches of snow and 12 inches of freezing rain. We're having a really bad day, guys. So anyway, so I fill this whole thing out and I say submit. Okay, and when I do that, it gives me this little window. I say okay. It closes my browser window. It takes everything I just did and lo and behold, puts it all into the text of the message in a prescribed way. That's great. So that's basically how you use templates. Again, I'll just send this to Art. Oh, why did I put an R there? That was good. Good typing. Okay.
Hey, do you know,
And you can,
are,
sorry, go
are the
ahead.
temp, I assume the templates are built into WinLink, then you don't need the internet to get to the form.
The
Yeah, they're
templates
built
get
in.
they're built in, and the templates are updated frequently, and so you will get new templates almost daily.
Yep. Every time you open up Winlink, just about it says, "Hey, template's ready to update. You want to update them?" And sometimes you have to say okay 3 or 4 times, and it'll go through and update different ones.
Right. So
So
open it up in a browser, I should, yeah, that obviously would work if you don't have internet.
yes,
It's a local.
So basically, if you're in a situation where you have no internet, then you wouldn't click on update.
Right. Right.
right. But if you
But you can
didn't have internet and you were using the program, as long as the templates are there in the program, you can use them. Because all it's doing, and I'll show you again, it's just connecting via localhost on your machine to your browser. It's not connecting to an external source.
It's a
opening
bunch of HTML code stored in files
Yep.
in
Yep.
the WinLink uh,
Yep.
install program area.
So I'm going to make a couple of changes here. I want to show you guys just a couple of different options. So one, before we were sending as a WinLink message. The next thing I want to do is I want to do a peer-to-peer message with Art and show you guys how that works. So I have to change this to peer-to-peer message. If you try connecting and sending a WinLink message peer-to-peer, it will not work. Okay, so I'm going to change this to peer-to-peer, and just for grins, I'm going to request a message receipt. Okay, and then I'm going to post this to the outbox. Okay, so now it's sitting in my outbox. But that's, and we can go back and I'll show you another form when we do another demo here. But um, that's kind of forms. They're really cool because you can just, yeah, you can just fill everything out in a prescribed way and then it puts it into your program. So the people receiving this get everything exactly the same way from everybody. All right. All right, Art, how would you like to do some peer-to-peer or point-to-point?
Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do packet.
Okay.
Hey, question for you about the forms. So like if you're an official storm spotter, you got an official number, do they have a form for that too?
Probably. Message, new message, select template, weather forms. If
You,
any of these
what was the question? I was distracted.
Oh, so
spotter number.
yeah, the weather service has the spotter.
Spotter number?
Yeah.
You can put the spotter number in the information, but it's not actually requested anywhere in any of the forms that I've seen.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep. And then just to go back to the point we were making a minute ago, you notice here when you open the browser window, it's just going to this file, right? It's a file in the RMS Express folder underneath my call sign, and this is where it stores everything. So it's just pulling up a local file, a local HTML file.
Right.
And it makes filling out the form very simple, very straightforward, and very rapid.
Yeah.
Yep. So forms very powerful. Okay, well let's talk about peer-to-peer demoing. So notice that under open session, so first of all, again, when I set the message, I'm just going to repeat this. I send it as a peer-to-peer message, not a WinLink message. That's really important, or else it won't work. Okay. I'm just going to say post outbox again. The second thing is here when I go to open session, instead of going to packet WinLink, I'm going to packet point to point or peer-to-peer. Sorry, I keep saying point to point. All right. And then the third thing is when I open this, so oh, hit it off the screen after I change the resolution. So now connection type is um,
Direct.
direct, right? So I'm not choosing a station. You notice that it's not giving me channel listings here that I can go choose a station. It's direct, and I filled in this, the N0AIU, and then we pick a frequency. So what are we
Let's
going with?
let's stay on 990.
You want to do 990?
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't 990 going to contact a
No.
tower?
No. Because it listens for our call signs.
Okay. Okay, so let me change that then. So I'm going to go 144.990, and I'm already on 144.990 on my radio. And so I have a message send. Did you also create a message to send, Art?
I did. Do you want me to send my message as well?
Yeah, post it to the outbox, and then we can show
Hang
that it
on.
can
I
do
need
both ways at
to.
once.
Uh, Okay, my draft is posted
Okay. All
and
right.
it's going to you. Let me
Okay.
see. Yep, it's set as peer to peer. Okay,
Okay.
we're
You want me to call you?
ready. Yeah, sure.
All right. So with peer to peer, either station can be the calling station. The only thing that's required is both stations have to have their Winlink up and have to be in a packet peer to peer session that has to be open. Okay. But it doesn't really matter whether Art calls me or I call him. And it doesn't matter whether I'm sending the message or he's sending the message. It can do it once it establishes the connection. If everything goes well, it should say sending message and then it should say receiving message on my end. So let's give it a shot. So here we go.
Just don't do it at the same time.
So it looks like here's the message that it's trying to send for me.
I'm downloading yours.
Yep. So mine is saying received. I sent 700 bytes and I'm receiving 64. It looks like. So, looks like it's doing both at once. It's sending and receiving. So yeah, it looks like it's sending right now. And all this gobbledygook that you see up here on the screen, that's the actual message that's being sent. All right. And I have my WinLink set to say approve messages, so I'm gonna click on this and I'm gonna say download check messages.
I assume that's not encrypted. That's just some kind of tokenization going on there.
It is not encrypted. We're
Yeah.
not allowed to use encryption on amateur radio
Exactly.
bands. Gee, I wish.
Yeah. Right.
So as you can see, nothing about this is particularly fast. Um, I just sent a basic text message. It had more than the original ones I was sending, and I think Art, you just probably sent a text message
I
also.
sent
But
a weather report, and it's
okay,
got more than your typical.
but it is taking some time. Again, this is Packet, so it's slower than Vara. We'll do the same demo using Vara just to show you that it still works peer to peer.
Mine says it sent it.
Whew. And mine says it received it. So I sent 2592 bytes. Down here it says I received 2961 bytes and it disconnected. If I go to my outbox, show nothing in my outbox appear. And
Look at
that's
your inbox.
my
Oh,
inbox.
excuse me.
There we go. There's
There's
my
your
inbox.
weather
Oh,
report,
and
58th and Sim.
there's my acknowledgement that I clicked on that box saying, oh, actually, this was Art's asking for an acknowledgement.
Yep.
So this is, oh, and this is cool. I didn't realize it was going to open it in a browser like that.
Oh, it will.
Cool.
And you can actually reply to the message. And oh, there's tons of things you can do.
Yeah. So it's
I
in
mean,
here.
you're just starting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's in here, as you guys can see. It's in here as a text, right, in the actual message. But you may not have noticed that when I double clicked on it. Well, how did I get to that HTML?
Go to the little paperclip icon.
That?
Yeah, click on it.
Yeah. Okay. I hadn't done that before, so I'm learning something new too. Like I said, the more you learn, the more you realize what an idiot you really are and how little you actually know. So, all right. Not that I'm calling anyone there an idiot, just myself. All right. So any questions on peer-to-peer packet?
Nope. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, so
Okay, so just so that you know, John was using everything he showed you. Okay, but on my end, I am using a Kenwood D710 with a TNC built in. Okay, this is one of those nuances. What is a TNC? Well, it's a terminal node controller, meaning it has more features and functionality than just a sound card.
And don't go
But
down
they
that
do
rabbit
the
hole
same
completely yet.
thing. Okay. And that means that you're not restricted on who you can talk to, who can get your peer to peer message. Doesn't matter who they are. If they're playing by the same set of rules, in other words, peer to peer, I can be using a sound card modem. Somebody else could be using another. He could be using that uh, uh, the one, the other sound modem
What, the
that you
signal
were,
link? What are you talking about?
the one you were talking about, the one
Rig,
that's Linux, more
Oh,
Linux.
the Direwolf?
Direwolf, thank
Yep.
you. Sorry,
Firewall.
I had a brain fart.
Yeah.
Direwolf, Direwolf and sound card modem are completely compatible because they work together. So that's my point.
Yep. Okay.
Doesn't
Um,
matter.
yep, and that's actually a really good point because now that when we're doing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Art, when we're demoing Vara point to point, you're actually gonna have to switch to a different radio, aren't you?
No, I'm use the same radio,
Oh,
but
it'll actually still work?
I'm going to convert to a different setup instead of using the built-in TNC that is interfaced in the radio a certain way. I use a DRDA 50 from Masters Communications sound card that's plugged in to the data port.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, you're changing that
I'm
part of your
changing
setup.
hardware that I'm using.
Okay. All right. So let's keep going here, just in the interest of time. So I'm gonna create a new message, and Art, you can go and do the same thing on your end.
Okay.
Just to show you guys again. So I'm gonna create a template. Um, I think Art, last time you suggested a general form. What was it? The after action, or what was? I can't remember which one you did.
I did the severe weather report.
Okay, I'm just gonna pick one just to show you guys what it looks like
Pick
because
one.
I don't have to fill it out. I mean, this is one I've used in our set exercises. So again, some of the stuff uh, comes in automatically, and I'm just gonna say N0AIU. Um, and I don't know if I have to actually type the whole thing out here, but it's not that important. Um, and then it asks a bunch of questions, and I'll just say POTS line's functioning. Nobody knows what a POTS line is anymore. VoIP functioning, no. Cell phone, no. Cell phone texts, sure. AM, FM, yes, because it's over the air. OTA, I don't even know what that is. Satellite, no, because it's cloudy. Cable, no, because it's crappy. Public works functioning, yes, I can flush my toilet. Commercial power functioning, we'll go with no. Blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to leave the rest. You guys get the idea. I'm just going to say submit. Oh, I have to fill out this field. Okay. See if it's anything else it makes me fill out. All right, so again, just another example of using a form or a template, and I'll get out of that. Um, again, don't forget that you have to change this to peer-to-peer message or else it won't work. So I'm changing this to peer-to-peer message. I'm not going to request a message receipt this time. I don't really care. And I'm going to post it to the outbox. Okay. All right. So this time we're going to do it over Vara. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to click Vara FM peer-to-peer. Okay. And I'm going to open the session. And it's already got direct to N0AIU because I think that's what I had last time. I don't think that's from what's in the message. Frequency, we're going to stay on this one, Art.
Yep, stay on this one.
Okay, 144,990. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
interesting splatter charts on there. Or are those ink blot tests?
All right, we're almost there, guys. So I received 2 messages, it looks like, and now it looks like
You
I'm
got one
sending.
acknowledgement and one message.
Yeah, and you can see that my radio is just going, or my signaling is just going crazy, and with the push to talk clicking on very quickly, trying to send all this. So even with Vara, and this seems a little slow, quite honestly, for Vara, but yeah, even with Vara, it's taking a little time.
Yeah, it looks like about 500 baud, 580. Not great.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got to keep that in mind as you're doing this. And that goes back to the whole conversation about size of message. This is a great tool, but it is not, you're not sitting here on, Yahoo on your internet connected computer.
So I'm looking at the parts.
So if you look at the FM peer-to-peer session that's going, there's a green bar across John's session, and that bar is giving you a status of how far you've progressed. So it looks to me like you are only getting about 500.
Yeah, I was just looking at the bar chart at the top left there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this seems slow for Vara. We are exchanging 4 messages, so it's 2 from you and 2 from me. So maybe that's part of what's slowing down. I don't know. It does seem a little slow to me for Vara. Anyway, it is done, I believe. So you can see here messages sent to, messages received. So messages sent to, bytes per minute. So it's, what is that? That's 1 kilobyte, 1.2 kilobytes per minute. And then the messages received, this is half a kilobyte per minute. So this was pretty slow for Vara. I'm not really sure why, but anyway, we're not going to dive into that because I know we're getting to time. That's peer-to-peer. I think peer-to-peer is really cool because you have to assume one of the big uses of this whole system is emergency communications. Things are down, normal things are down. You have to assume that when that happens, that a lot of your gateways are going to be down too, right? Or they're going to be overwhelmed with traffic of people trying to communicate using this system. And if that's the case, you're either stuck or you can do peer-to-peer. If as long as Art and I or whoever we're communicating with can talk to each other directly, we can exchange these types of messages in a situation like that. So I think it's really cool.
Do you guys know if the message were to fail and you got like incomplete, is it in a situation where you can't read the partial message, you have to wait for it to finish?
The answer is twofold. If you're in peer-to-peer mode, the message stays in your outbox. It never goes anywhere. If you're in Winlink mode and you get your message to the Winlink station, okay, that station will retain that message until it reaches its destination.
Right, store and forward kind of thing. Right. But if the complete message doesn't send, then either way, the other side's not going to be able to read a partial message.
Right.
One other quick question.
I think you've heard modem noises for enough, so I'm going to turn down my radio.
Thanks, Art.
Is it safe to assume you can do peer-to-peer over HF as well?
Okay, so you got a whole different set of conditions, and the answer is yes. Technically, it is feasible, and it's even sometimes it actually works. But the band conditions play such a big role on HF that we're still struggling to try and say yes, we're going to go call somebody on HF. But what we typically do is use an RMS station outside of Colorado for our emergency preparedness drills and stuff.
Right.
So we try to contact Salt Lake City or somebody in that area, somebody in Albuquerque, somebody in Lubbock, or even Dallas area. And the idea is that if you have some kind of a emergency, it might affect the state of Colorado, but not likely is it going to cover multiple states.
Right. Yeah, I seem to remember that VARA can also do some calculations to figure out the likely station you should be able to reach.
BARA actually has a computational map
Yeah,
that they provide, which gives you signal strength and quality
right, right.
by
Yeah.
station.
Yeah, cool. Real quick, I want to get into this. This will
Yeah.
take like 30 seconds to go through. And then we can just open it up to general questions for as long as you guys want. Um, so this is just a slide. I've looked all these up, so I thought this was interesting to include what all these things mean. Because when you're going through this, you see PQ, FW, PR, FC, EM, FS, FF, FQ. What do all those things mean? So, you can actually look these up and you can find out PQ is account authentication challenge right here. And then it's saying I want to forward a message. It's got an account authentication response. It's saying I'm going to a proposal to send message is an encapsulated message and it has the message ID. FS is proposal response, and FF down here means no more messages to send, and then FQ is no messages to send, time to disconnect. So got all these I don't know, call them acronyms or codes, but they actually all do have meanings, and that's in the presentation, which I will share with you guys so you can post it wherever you want to post it if that's what you want to do. So anyway, that is the end of my formal presentation. I was going to go into mobile stuff, but we don't really have that much time, and to be honest, I haven't had a chance to play around with mobile as much as I would have liked to before this. But all of this is definitely possible via mobile, just like it is here. Um, via many different ways. You could be handheld, you could be mobile in a car, you could have it built in, people create things like this. Hold on. I'm working on this. So this is my mobile setup because I don't have the money to have a radio in my car and a radio in my house right now. So if I'm going to go mobile, I have a special package that I just pick everything up. I put it in its designated spots to go mobile. So, but it's yeah, you can do all this mobile. All right, so I'll stop talking. Any questions?
Any other questions?
I'm gonna stop screen sharing too.
Jed's got one. Hold on, let me head over there.
Any thoughts on the Digirig or Mobile Link?
Any thoughts on the Digirig or Mobile Link?
I don't know Digirig at all. When Art gets back, we'll run that one by him. Mobile Link, I played around with for a little while when I was playing around with a handheld. Let me see if I still have it here. Yeah, I don't know what I did with my mobile link, but yeah, it was cool because you could literally like kind of strap it to the back of a handheld and have a communicate with the mobile link on the COM port from your handheld and have that kind of be a package, and together that can do roughly the same thing. But I'll be honest, I haven't played around with mobile link in more than a couple of years at this point, so I didn't have much to say. The other one, it was Digilink, you said?
Digirig?
Digi
What? Digirig.
Digirig
Yeah, can you talk about that,
and
Art?
MobiLink.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, MobiLink is a packet um, type device. It's actually a real live TNC. Okay, so it only works in packet modes. So it can do 1200 baud and 9600 baud, yada yada yada. But receiving stations and bandwidth and band conditions all play a role as to how good it is. I'm not a big fan of MobiLink. I have one,
No,
and
that's a mobile link.
yeah, I they're convenient to use with a handheld, and you can actually make a handheld that normally doesn't have APRS have APRS with one, and it's pretty good for that use. DigiRig, on the other hand, is um, of the hardware sound card modems, I would class it as high as the master's communication and above the signal link. It requires a special set of cables to hook it up, but it does have the ability to actually activate the transmit, um, the push to talk button on mobile radios that have 6-pin DIN connections. So that means it worked with a wide number of VHF, UHF radios, ICOMs, Yasu's, and just about anybody. It's really high quality and very good. I wanted to just real quick, if that's okay, I wanted to show you. Of course, I got it. I pushed a button I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Um,
Real quick, Mark, are you okay with us? I know you targeted noon to be done, but are you okay with us going a few more minutes?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
Let me show you. This is the only thing I was going to show you. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Let me get that off the screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, this is a Signal Link USB, and this is the one that is the newest iteration that's coming out. Okay, now this is a very poor photograph, but you can see the difference. These two blurry devices down at the bottom, um, they literally are. Uh, those are the transformers I was talking about.
The old style.
Old style doesn't work well with VARA FM in a high speed mode.
Good to know.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's
Well,
now. Let
hey,
me
Art,
go.
before you leave that picture, one other thing on Signalink. So with Signalink, when you order it, you have an option of either like doing the pin outs yourself with wires,
Yep.
or they can send you a chip
Yeah,
that just fits in that where all those wires are, and it just fits in there, and it has all of that done for you, which is great depending on what you're trying to do. One thing, be careful, make sure that chip or whatever it's called doesn't come loose, because I had that problem. I had my setup working perfectly, and then one day I went to use it again, and it kept triggering the signal link, but the signal link wasn't triggering the radio, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I finally I picked up my signal link, and I moved it a little bit, and I hear this rattling going on of something moving back and forth in it,
popped out.
and yeah, I opened up the signal link, and the chip was completely just out of its position. So be careful, make sure the chip stays where it's supposed to.
Well, I had more trouble with the wires.
Yeah, pay $10 for the little chip, and that's
Yeah, yeah, just snap it incorrectly. I think I didn't.
yeah, absolutely.
Art, anything else you wanted to
The
share with these
the
guys?
one thing, if you look down that list of different types of communications, after Telnet, there's Packet and something called Pactor. If you're curious about Pactor, it is a commercially licensed product. It's darn expensive.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
I
platform.
mean beyond
Yeah,
reasonable. I mean we're talking two
about
thousand or more. This is what ships use, and they will use it with Winlink to get emails, but they'll also use it to get weather information and you name it, and so on and so forth. So that's my 2 cents. Pactor is something we most of us can't afford.
and don't
And
need to
yeah,
afford.
and Bara HF and Bara FM are affordable and they work very, very well.
Excellent. All right, guys. Any other questions? Nope.
I hope this was of benefit to you.
Got one more question.
Do they know of any issues with the 7100 and using the onboard sound card like the 991?
Do you guys know if there are any issues with using the IC 7100 onboard sound card like the 991 has?
Not that I know of, but I've never I don't own a 7100, but I was trying to read up on it, and ICOM and Yasu were kind of weird about supporting digital modes, so your mileage could vary.
Yeah. I know the 7300 works, but that's,
Oh, I use my 7300 all the time.
yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for your time. This was great.